So I was just thinking about how podcasting really changed my ability to level up. There were so many things that I was thinking about in my practice that would come up with clients, and or just how I was running the practice. And the podcast really allowed me to explore this on just like a much deeper level. And so one thing I did is I put together this podcast, but then also took some time to think about that process of starting a podcast. And I've put a ton over at podcastlaunchschool.com as a way to just help therapists that want to start a podcast. We have a bunch of services over there if you're looking to go full tilt. But honestly, just starting a podcast, learning about it, we have tons over at podcastlaunchschool.com, and we'd love for you to check it out. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 1388. I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast, where we help you build a thriving private practice that you absolutely love. We want you to have all of it. We want you to be thriving. We want you to do well. We want you to do the operational side. And we also want you to love it. We want you to feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is what I've built. And today we are diving into Great Lakes Online Counseling. So as many of you know, I've been building this practice in less than 2 hours a week. And I've got to tell you, being on week 20, there's sort of this frustration at the pace, and it's not anything that my team is doing. It's this restriction I gave myself of 2 hours a week. I'm just finding it frustrating to not have more time than that, because I feel like then things are delayed. We hired Rachel, our newest employee, but we are learning so much that is just like that. I'm not in the weeds usually when I'm doing consulting. And so it's really interesting. So this last week, I had some time off. I went backpacking with my daughter, and so was completely offline for a few days. And, now today is actually a Friday. I usually don't work on Fridays, but, I took the week off and wanted to get some of this done. But it's interesting because, we were backpacking, we were out in the woods, and we were eaten alive by mosquitoes. We even had the mosquito nets over our face. We had long sleeves. They were eating through our shirts, and I have bug bites everywhere. And there's a huge thunderstorm. All of this to say, it's been a busy week. And, as I look at 20 weeks in, I'm feeling like, man, why aren't we farther ahead? But I have to look back and say, okay, this is step by step, slowly, 2 hours a week, building it on the side. And so the hypothesis I went in with at the beginning, as I was interviewing different partners, was that it was going to be pretty turnkey working with Headway. Gusto was going to be pretty easy to work with, and that once we found someone, it'd be pretty easy to onboard. And this is something that we've talked with Headway about as well, that there's a lot of things that it's like because they're the NPI too, and then we're bringing people in. There's a lot of things that just don't always line up that I have to approve, or I can't just do it kind of on a large scale. I have to do it individually for each provider. And so just today I was in the portal looking at Rachel, the new clinician, kind of all the insurances that it wants us to apply for, and then I'm looking at the rates and they don't align with kind of what we were hoping for. And then, there's a lot of discussion right now with the whole CAQH thing that's going on, and, people just being worried that Headways and Almas and other, companies might change the rates as more providers get in. And so I have my consultant hat where, we've worked with Headway for years. They've really been good supporters of the practice. And also, one of my best friends uses them and loves them. And that was the reason that, I really started working with them. So I have my consultant hat over there. And then we've just met with some of the representatives over there to talk about, the business side. And so just little things like, like the financials not integrating directly into QuickBooks, things like that is going to be an extra time suck for us. And I said to you as I went into this project, I would be honest about the experience. And these are all things that we are talking with Headway and others about. But I think it's important to just say, like, it's been bumpier than I expected. And so even going into each individual provider's portal for, the Stripe and the money in and out, it seems like there would be a better kind of umbrella way to do it. And so we're still doing that, but I'm also now considering doing more of the credentialing and more of the billing, just under my own lens. I was texting with Jeremy Zug from Practice Solutions, who's been a friend of Practice the Practice for a decade, and just kind of talking with him about just different options and talking about credentialing. And I put in the Trello list for our next conversation for me and Jen to talk about, do we want to do our own credentialing here in Michigan? Because it feels like it's quite a bit of work doing it through Headway. And then we might as well kind of do it ourselves and just kind of compare the two. And so early on, I had said that we might do that. But that slowed things down because there's a lot of sign-offs that I need to do that Jen can't do in there. And I get that. And from the turnkey perspective, it's been a little slower than I expected. As a therapist, I can tell you from experience that having the right EHR is an absolute lifeline. I recommend using Therapy Notes. They make billing, scheduling, note-taking, telehealth, and e-prescribe incredibly easy. Best of all, they offer live telephone support that's available 7 days a week. You don't have to take my word for it. Do your own research and see for yourself. Therapy Notes is the #1 highest rated EHR system available today, with a 4.9 out of 5 stars on trustpilot.com and on Google. All you have to do is click the link below or type promo code Joe on their website over at therapynotes.com and receive a special 2-month trial absolutely free. Again, that's therapynotes.com and use promo code Joe on the website. If you're coming from another EHR, Therapy Notes will also import your demographic data quick and easy at no cost, so you can get started right away. Trust me, don't waste any more of your time and try Therapy Notes. Just use promo code Joe at checkout. So then we also go into Gusto, where we hire Rachel, and I thought everything was all set up just fine, and it wasn't. I didn't go in there and realize, just in hiring someone from another state, how much paperwork I personally needed to do. And in some ways, this is really interesting to do this publicly because as a consultant, I'll talk to people and say, yeah, just make sure you work with your virtual assistant to onboard that person, and we'll go through the checklist. And then the lived experience of going back into being an owner is that it's really hard to outsource a lot of these things because it's wanting my social security number, information about me personally, bank accounts, all of that you wouldn't give to a typical virtual assistant. And so going in there, and then now I have to go through all of this paperwork. It's an extra $199 a year just to have an employee that's in California. And so for them to manage all of that. So thinking about all of these expenses of having a team that's throughout the country. And so Rachel lives in California, but is going to be serving people in Michigan and eventually has plans to move to Michigan. But to automate those things to make sure that I don't drop the ball, to do all the fees, all of that. And then there's all these little stopping points where I need, if we don't have an office in California, we need to have her home address. And that wasn't something that we needed in our onboarding or she had on her resume. And so it's like, then I'm kind of stuck at that point. And so I think the big part of this phase to me is keeping the momentum going when it's both frustrating and there's potential there. And so we have a beautiful website. Jen's going to be putting blog posts on there, doing different things around like dating after betrayal and helping people post-divorce. That's going to be something that we're continuing to do, but we've got to make sure we have everything kind of lined up where if we're saying we take insurance and we're promoting that on Psychology Today, we have to make sure the insurance rates are what we want, making sure that we are good to see those clients through Headway or eventually our own credentialing, and then making sure we're attracting those people. So there's just a lot of different puzzle pieces that are part of this phase. And I think that's why it's important to walk through this phase with you and to talk through how there are so many steps within. So I think things that I should have had prepared was making sure that John gave me a document, the attorney, for all these different things, and we didn't do all of it. And so we're going to go back. We're going to redo our onboarding for our next person. Where, having all of those different home addresses, we had the license number, all of that, but we didn't have that all set up ahead of time. And so I think making sure that we know when we're adding a new state, a person from another state, really making sure that we're clear on exactly what we need for that person and walking through it and giving the appropriate permissions to Jen to be able to walk through all of those things. I think also there is a case for hiring people from just a couple particular states. I do think then that limits your job pool, unfortunately, as well. But, when you're paying taxes to all these different states, you've got to keep track of that. And I want to make sure that we do that. So as we move forward, I'm kind of thinking about the marketing side once we get her going, and then the payroll side, and then all of the credentialing. So there's a lot of things that we're juggling right now, and in only 2 hours a week. We're 40 hours into this project. And so I think just saying to myself, if I were doing this all on my own and just like, I got to start this thing, and didn't have practice of the practice, didn't have the other things that I'm doing, sure, we'd be like 2 weeks in or maybe a month in. So I think just remembering that is good for myself. Also, I'm feeling a little tired from backpacking. My back hurts. I'm not as young as I once was. And so I'm just recognizing that's something that is part of this as well. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Also, we could not do this show without our sponsor support. Therapy Notes is the best electronic health records out there. They've been a supporter for years, but even more importantly, they can help you grow and scale your business with their EHR. They have embedded in their system their own virtual way, similar to Zoom, of doing HIPAA-compliant teletherapy. They'll help you move from your current billing platform over to Therapy Notes. They have amazing customer service. A lot of these EHRs only have text support or chat, but you can actually talk to a real person that will help you out if you get stuck. A couple years ago, I remember I had a client that had switched over, and the old company wasn't releasing the things, and Therapy Notes did such an amazing job of coordinating so that therapist could get back to doing therapy instead of worrying about her EHR. They're an amazing company. Head on over to therapynotes.com. Use promo code JOE, J-O-E, at checkout to get a couple months for free. Thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.